My name is Arlene Hoyt. I'm the Executive Director of the Tower Network. I'll serve as the moderator of the discussion today. Welcome to the 5th episode in the series, Civically Engaged Universities and Pandemic, Student Stories of Hope. Today, we'll continue to examine the role of diversity during the time of the pandemic. For me, this is a very special session. I have the honor and the pleasure of introducing you to 5 university students from around the world, representing Kenya, Bangladesh, Brazil, Ireland, and India. Each student is tremendously creative, courageous with their communities. Before we get started, let me say that this webinar is part of the educational partnership between the Open Society University Network and the Tower Network. The Open University Network and the Tower Network share a global vision of uniting universities around the world in collaborative research and teaching, and preparing students to become engaged citizens. This is part of a project that's called Communities of Virtual Alliance and Independence, fondly known as COVADE. COVADE is aimed at supporting civically engaged universities that are responding quickly, responding positively to the COVID-19 pandemic. And the goals of COVADE are to collect and share stories of institutions and individuals who are taking action to mitigate the crisis and to document practical steps and strategies that may be of use to others around the world. A central feature, very exciting part of the COVADE initiative is Student Engagement Award. The award brings together university students so that they can critically reflect on the ways in which the pandemic has impacted them and the ways that they've adapted their community engagement work to respond to the pandemic. We received more than 300 applications, students representing 37 countries. And today we have 5 of our 10 award winners. They're now part of a virtual community of practice, and they're sharing their ideas and strategies. They're developing relationships, and importantly, cultivating hope during times of uncertainty. So without further ado, let's get started. Each of the 5 winners today will share their experience, and then I'll take some questions from the audience. If you have a question, simply go to the question and answer bar at the bottom of the screen. Catherine, would you please lead the way by being the first to share experience?
Thank you very much. Hello, it is an honor to be part of this webinar and to be one of the students awarded the COVID-AIDS Student Engagement Award. My name is Catherine Kazungia Mumo. I am a student at Strathmore University, pursuing a bachelor's degree in international studies in Nairobi, Kenya. Strathmore University is engaged in various community outreach programs coordinated by the Community Service Center. Nawiri Sisters is an initiative in partnership with the Community Service Center in Strathmore, aimed at addressing period stigma through mentorship and provision of sanitary towels to girls in public primary and high schools from low-income homes. This is a project that we registered. The word Nawiri is a Kiswahili term meaning to flourish, which is the aim of the initiative, meant to empower the generation of tomorrow. Period stigma is a real issue in Kenya and other countries around the world. In Kenya, the stigma surrounding menstrual health management has led to lack of access to information and materials for vulnerable girls and women from low-income families. There are cases of girls missing out on school due to menstruation, and at times girls are shamed by their teachers, their relatives, their brothers and fathers, leading to cases of suicide and beliefs of menstruation being dirty, filthy, unclean, and shameful. And even girls are refused to take part in activities such as cooking or praying when they're on their menses. There have also been cases of girls turning to sexual partners to get money to purchase menstrual health materials. Nawiri Sisters began its work with a primary school in close proximity to Strathmore University, offering mentorship and menstrual health materials to 230 adolescent girls. However, with the closure of schools due to the COVID pandemic, our work came to a halt. However, we were determined to find a way to help the girls and families who had lost their jobs due to the financial strains brought about by the pandemic and were therefore unable to provide food for their families. These vulnerable families living below the poverty line were now facing two challenges: the pandemic and hunger. With this in mind, with the help of the school's headmistress, we were able to reach out to the most needy families, providing them with food items such as maize flour, rice, beans, sugar, tea, soap, sanitary towels, and tissue. Through a Kenya donation platform known as M-Changa, we raised funds through crowdfunding and were able to feed 81 families and provide sanitary towels, 2 months supply to the girls in the school. Noting that periods do not stop for pandemics, as highlighted during this year's Menstrual Health Day, and noting the increased number of teenage pregnancies this year, one of the major contributors being lack of sanitary towels. Hence, as mentioned earlier, girls turning to sexual partners to cater for this need. Nawiri Sisters aims to address this with the help of the award received from the Talwa Network, to which we are grateful. I believe that the pandemic has shaken the world as we know it. But despite this, the overwhelming response and initiative from the youth brings hope that humanity needs. As the Kiswahili saying goes, haba na haba hujaza kibaba. Small actions put together make a difference. Together we can make a difference, as this interaction proves. Through the Talwa networks, Tufts, the Open Society University Network, Bard College, you have enabled me and 9 other youth from various parts of the world to make a difference in their communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Zanima, next, please.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here with so many distinguished individuals who are doing such engaging social work in their communities. I honestly consider myself extremely lucky to be a part of this group because it's allowing me to meet such incredible people and know more about their work. I am a third-year economics major at BRAC University in Bangladesh, and the social work that I do focuses on sustainable social change, which means my work includes projects which aim to bring long-term impact in the society. Being part of Bondhu Foundation as the project officer has allowed me to do that, and it has also given me an opportunity to steer our focus whenever something new arises. Before the pandemic, what I used to do is work on 2 projects. One is the project Potchala, where I worked with abandoned children of sex workers in the local and rural communities in my country and give them a place to learn and grow despite the stigma that they face from society. The other project that I worked on is very similar to what Catherine does. It is Project Konna, and Konna is a Bengali word for girls. So here we try to destigmatize the idea of menstrual hygiene. And here in both these projects, I used to plan and organize classes and mentor children from different economic backgrounds on topics related to these issues. During COVID-19, strict school closures were suddenly advised by the government. So we had to put all these aside because taking classes was suddenly not an option anymore. But then we realized that we still have the resources to do campaigns. So we tried to steer our focus to people who were now being critically hurt due to COVID-19 situations. We noticed that due to job cuts, underprivileged and marginalized communities in my country were suddenly being unable to afford basic food necessities. So we quickly began rapid relief campaigns to support these people with basic food necessities. We raised about 20 lakh taka, which is about $23,000, which we raised through crowdfunding to help these communities. We used all of this money to help about 1,000 people every day until the end of June, and we are continuing our project in a different place now. So for details, the rapid relief program that we started with was designed into 4 individual campaigns named as one, namely Corona o Beche Thakar Juddho, which means the fight to survival in COVID-19. Firstly, we distributed rations of food to sex workers, orphanages, old homes, tribes, sweepers, cobblers, and transgenders. We made a basket of basic traditional food commodities that included rice, sugar, oil, milk, wheat, lentils, and a few more food necessities which we traditionally eat in a Bengali household. We donated these rations according to the family size, which means if a family consisted of 5 members, that family would get more food compared to another family where there were maybe 2 or 3 members. So we tried to do it economically. Also, the next thing we did was that we prepared cooked meals for the homeless people who are now being even further endangered. We also try to support slum dwellers and the street dogs, which are very common in the streets of my country. We cooked meals every day, and we provided these meals in specific slum areas in Dhaka city and sometimes beyond Dhaka city, outside in other cities where we could manage to prepare the meals and provide people with food. The third thing we did was that we tried to help some middle class people who lost their jobs. The challenge here was that middle class people don't usually like to come forward with their problems. So we made posts on social media through our pages, and those of them who reached out to us through email and through our social media channels, we tried to help them by assessing their conditions. The last thing that helped us combine all these together was that we brought our produce directly from farmers, so that at the same time they could get their income generated, which was being endangered due to COVID-19 supply chain disruptions. Moving on, what our work made us realize is that our healthcare arena needed help too. Yes, we were helping people with food necessities, but there were people who were directly dealing with the disease. So we thought, what about them? So we wanted to improve our project and include the doctors and patients as well, who were in the front lines battling the disease directly. In fact, the scenario in my country is such that most public hospitals are understocked, and we do not have many basic supply of basic sanitation, cleaning, food products for the patients, which is extremely essential. And COVID-19 has actually made the situation so much worse. Apart from the shortages of ventilators, oxygen tanks, which are being faced by most countries across the world, there are basic shortages in necessities which are extremely essential for our patients in Bangladesh. The other thing we considered is that there is so much misinformation on social media about COVID-19. So this usually confuses people, and people tend to form opinions on what they should do to tackle COVID-19 on their own. Simultaneously, when a COVID-19 patient is inside a hospital, they are kept isolated. This puts an extremely huge mental pressure on them, because in normal times, their family members come to visit them. They sometimes even bring important things that the patient may need to overcome the problem. So overall, the patient may be dealing with their mental strength completely alone. So keeping these two reasons in mind, we decided to bring about a basic care box package, which, thanks to the COVID award, we will be able to move forward with. Initially, however, we were unsure about what products to include in this package. We knew that there was these general problems, but we did not know what the specific problems were in the hospitals, because being a COVID, being exposed to COVID, we were not allowed to visit the hospitals and talk directly to the management. So what we did was that we took advice from some health professionals and doctors who were in the front lines, and we took their advice to include some basic necessities. These are as follows: face masks, hand sanitizers, toilet papers, soaps, dry foods such as biscuits. Then there are vitamin C supplements, mosquito repellent sprays, and the last thing, which is very important, I believe, is a COVID-19 guideline handbook. This will contain essential information about what patients should expect about the infection and how they should help in dealing with the disease, both help themselves and their family members. So we were hoping to provide these care box packages to the patients the day they enter the hospital. And also we were hoping that this process would actually help the hospitals as well in stocking up their inventory, and also help the patients by giving them proper information about what they should do to keep their families safe. Our target is basically to donate about 200 boxes to each of the hospitals which are public in our country. As of today, we have donated these boxes to about 3 hospitals, and we hope to continue our project till the end of August, until all our donations are complete. The COVID award will help us to fund about 1,000 of these primary care boxes. So thank you again. Lastly, I want to talk a bit about my hopes from the situation. It is obvious that COVID-19 has given us so many adversaries and many reasons to be worried about. But I feel that it has also given us an opportunity to stop and scrutinize our economic situations and assess our abilities of adaptation in a new way. It has honestly given us a new direction that helps us realize our abilities and strengths as a country and scrutinize our rooms for improvement. For example, in the case of my country, Bangladesh, we now know that our healthcare and education sector needs reform in planning and funding. So the next time when we do and we prepare and plan our fiscal budget, maybe we will have these things in consideration more. This is why I am hopeful that this pandemic will actually be a turning point for many nations, including mine, as we now have some open scars, which we will now take the responsibility to heal more sustainably. I want to add that as young adults, this experience of being involved and being part of the pandemic, both directly and indirectly, will help us take decisions more holistically in the future when it's time for us to take more important decisions about our lives. This is because COVID-19 has given us a unique opportunity to deal with a difficult situation together. The whole world is in this together. And although the situation is affecting different communities and people from different backgrounds in their own unique ways, the goal again is a singular one, that is to heal everyone from it as soon as possible. This goal is now making us realize the importance of solidarity. So I'm hopeful that these lessons will actually help the new generation bring some positive changes in the long run. So I just want to thank again the Taylor and Ocean Network, as well as Tufts University and Bard College, for making us students such a big and important part of this international project of community and engagement. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zamima. Thank you so much. No, me, I'm muted, I think. No? Tice, would you go next, please? Tice.
Sure. Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really pleased to be here today talking to you, sharing my project, also listening to the other award winners' projects. So my name is Thais Mazuda Costa. I'm a chemical engineering student here at Unicamp in Brazil. So Unicamp is the name of my university. I'm 20 years old, and I'm also part of the Enactus Unicamp team. So for those who do not know, I think it's important to explain what Enactus is. So Enactus is a worldwide non-profit organization that inspires students to take entrepreneurial action to improve and change the life of other people. And these people means vulnerable communities. So I'm part of the Pureco project. Pureco is a digital platform, which is basically an app that was made to connect two groups. A group of women of a place called Jardim Santa Monica, it's a vulnerable community, and a group of customers. So through this platform, these women are able to offer cleaning services and increase their monthly income. Besides that, We also offer them training such as how to give and how to receive someone a feedback or about cleaning services standardization. We are focused in the Sustainable Development Goal 5, which is working toward gender equality. We met this group of women through the community leader, Maria Nazaré. This group had some similarities, so we say in Portuguese that these women are the heads of families, which means that they are commonly the only adult figure in the house, so without male figure. In this point, they have two work journeys, one inside house, taking care of their families, and another outside house, working to get money to support these families. We also have another problem, which is the financial dependence of many women that because of this cannot divorce from their partners and are susceptible to humiliation and violence. Money in these cases means freedom, and it's in those cases that our platform wants to act on. We want to empower them, mainly in this way. We have been running this platform for 2 years now, and we have gotten more than 70,000 reais, which means more or less $14,000 with our cleaning services. All this money was totally given to the community, so we don't take any part of it. It's important to add that many changes in the community are not able to be counted with numbers, but I can tell you with words. So for an example, one of our collaborators, she started studying again. Now she's learning how to read and how to write because she didn't have the opportunity to study when she was a child. And this is something that really inspires me and makes me want to do even more. So with the COVID, we had to stop the platform, but the Nactus Unicamp team didn't. So in this meanwhile, we did a project in which we collected 15,000 reais in 15 days to buy supplies for the Santa Monica community. And now I'm happy to say that we are able to feed 100 families for 3 months. Also, we have another project called Madre Pérola that received donations to produce masks for another nearby vulnerable community. So with the award, we're going to be able to do a platform update, also buy clothes for our collaborators and personal protective equipment, such as gloves and masks, and hopefully allow more women to work with us. I also want to add that we received the financial help of Unicamp, our university, 2 years ago in the value of more or less $2,000. So in this way, I can say that Unicamp is definitely a civically engaged university. Also, as a Brazilian student, I want to share something that I have been thinking those past days. So what technology means for us nowadays? Some examples that I have been thinking are this webinar, because it's just being possible with technology and internet. And in my university, I will start to research about computational fluid dynamics, but I'm not going to talk about that today. And everything is just about technology and softwares. Also, I study German, and next semester I'll have classes with a teacher teaching me directly from Germany. And this is just being possible because of our online connection. And to finish my examples, I have been talking to Timama, Catherine, and Mohawk. They're also panelists today. And every time that I look at the big map that I have in my room, I just think about how distant we are from each other, but how connected we feel. So it's been an awesome opportunity to talk to them and get to know more about their cultures, also share mine. The point here is that technology is really important nowadays. Science is definitely saving us now, and one thing that is really important and that I do want to share with you is that we need to bring this technology to the society, to the community, to the people that could not have had the same privileges as I did. So this is what Pureco, my project, tries to do with the platform, with the app, with the trainings. COVID is already showing and exposing the really unequal and racist society that we live in, especially in the underdeveloped and undeveloped countries. So what I think that we need to do is to show people how science, universities, technology are important for us and how they can serve this unfortunately invisible part of our society. To finish, I wanted to say that this is a speech of hope because we can see now what they say about the new generation, right? We all here are the new generation, and it's not just about the young people, but how we can see ourselves not just as an individual element, but a part of a complex system and society in which we need to make positive impacts. I've heard a sentence that is more or less, COVID can be a tsunami, but it can also be a wave where we can surf sometimes. So I guess this is what we are successfully doing here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Your next
Thank you so much. So my name is Vera Stojanovic. I am the founder and coordinator of Better Together, which is a charity which works directly with women and children living in asylum accommodation in Ireland. So I returned to education in 2018, and I am now a social science student at University College Cork. I was awarded a Quercus Active Citizenship Scholarship for the work that I've carried out with Better Together for the last 4 years. And University College Cork is the only university in the world that gives fully funded scholarships for active citizenship. So I'm going to, first of all, start by just talking a little bit about the direct provision system, which is the asylum system in Ireland, how it's been affected by COVID-19, and then what I've been able to do to support residents within the system. So direct provision, as I said, is a system of asylum seeker accommodation used in the Republic of Ireland. It was introduced as a short-term measure, and due to significant delays in asylum processes, many people spend an average of 3 years living in the system, but I know people who've lived 7 to 10 years in the system. Residents live in overcrowded accommodation where often whole families live in one space, and many centres are situated in rural settings with limited access to transport, meaning that integration is very difficult for people. The system itself has been criticised by human rights organisations as degrading and inhumane. So the Irish Refugee Council stated that direct provision is the most disturbing aspect of Ireland's response to COVID-19, highlighting the institutional discrimination which exists in Ireland, specifically towards refugees and asylum seekers. Those who lost their employment due to COVID-19 in Ireland are automatically entitled to receive a supplement of €350 a week, but asylum seekers were not entitled to the same amount. This has put them at a significant, it's put significant strain on the families who are already struggling at this time. The nature of the accommodation itself has made it practically impossible to practice social distancing. And I have a lot of, I know a lot of people who live in the centres who have been forced to share rooms with people who've contracted the virus. Therefore, clusters have appeared in many centres across the country. As a result of these clusters appearing, blanket testing was rolled out by the Department of Justice in all of the 7 centres in Cork, which was a concern to the residents because the information given was not very extensive. What I was able to do with Better Together, we usually run a summer camp for children living in direct provision. So our summer camp team were able to create an information video for children who were getting tested. It was a very basic video which explained basically what the room was going to look like, what the nurses were going to be wearing, and some tips and tricks that the children could use if they were feeling a little bit overwhelmed or scared while the testing was happening. This video was picked up by the Department of Justice and shown to all direct provision centres across the Republic of Ireland. Due to COVID-19, all of the programmes and activities that I had planned for Better Together over the coming months had to be cancelled. Therefore, as a separate project, I was able to co-found the Sanctuary Mask Initiative in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Sanctuary Mask Initiative recruits 20 women to sew thousands of reusable hygiene masks, which we've been able to give to vulnerable communities. The 20 women come from 5 different direct provision centres in Cork. So the first phase of the project saw the women sewing 6,000 masks, all of which we were able to give to each man, woman and child living in direct provision in Cork. And the second phase commissioned the women to make an additional 3,000 masks, which we were able to give to community groups and volunteers who work in a non-medical capacity. So the initiative has helped us to improve the emotional well-being of the women involved, and also help to give them vital financial support in this time. As well as this, and I think this is one of the main things that's come out of the project, is that we've been able to help change the narrative around residents in direct provision. So residents are often viewed through the deficit lens as passive recipients of events and as individuals with little to contribute to society. But what we've been able to do with the Mask Initiative is to harness the strengths and the willingness to get involved within the community and to show their agency in response to the pandemic. So where can hope be found in a system that is so far gone almost. When I was thinking about this question, I realized that a byproduct of the inadequate response from our Department of Justice is the fact that it's shone a light on the institutional discrimination which exists in Ireland and which is specifically targeted at refugees and asylum seekers. And as a result, campaigns have popped up around asking the government to abolish the system of derision, which has coincided with the Black Lives Matter movement. So I believe that if there's any hope to be found in this time, it is that people are seeing, or more people are seeing, that this is not a safe system for people to live, let alone people who are who are among the most vulnerable in our society. So I hope if anything comes from this, is that this will lead to change and to major reform. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vera. Mohak, would you go next?
Hi everyone, I'm Mohak Thukral and I am from India. I am a fourth year law student from Jindal Global University, which is near New Delhi, which is the capital of India. First of all, I feel extremely honored to share a panel with extremely talented individuals and my friends. And next, I would like to thank the Tilray Network, the Open Societies Network, and the Bard College for organizing this webinar and giving us the support which we required and the required push which we needed to make sure that our initiatives can actually bring a change in the society. Uh, I'm of the opinion that any humanitarian crisis is an opportunity for all of us to show how we are human and what makes us human. This is an opportunity for all of us to go out and help our peers and help the people which we for whom we care about. And I think all of us did exactly that. And I'm extremely proud of all of the people here. Now, talking about myself and my initiative, I started this non-governmental organization, this NGO, 2 years back called Project Kushal Society. Kushal in Hindi, which is the language spoken in India, means skill. So Project Kushal meant a project that would integrate skills with education. All of us here are all of us here come from privileged backgrounds. We went to good schools where we took part in different activities like dance, music, declamation, speech writing, speech delivering. A lot of these activities gave us a lot of confidence and enabled us to start initiatives and projects like we all do. But the students who are from underprivileged backgrounds, who are not economically strong, do not have access to these opportunities. So that is where my organization stepped in. We partnered with small schools and small governmental schools and organized free workshops in these schools, teaching these students dance, music, art, dramatics, and then we also organized events for these students. We gave them a platform to showcase their skills. This led to skill development in these students, and also this led to lots of building a positive attitude in them, instilling confidence in them. And also we were able to create a platform where students from privileged as well as underprivileged backgrounds could come together. They could interact, they could learn from each other, and that is a first of a kind initiative taken in our country. And I am extremely proud of my team who thought of such an initiative. Later on, we expanded the area of our work and also started working in the field of LGBTQ rights. We have organized over 100 awareness sessions and seminars at different schools and colleges about LGBTQ rights. And I am proud to say that my organization organized Punjab's first Pride Parade last year. Also, this year we organized one of India's first online Pride Parade. And we have been working with numerous self-help groups of transgender communities, and we have been working with them to make sure they get the economic opportunities they are instilled in the society. Right now, we are working to make sure that all the public places in my state have gender neutral toilets for the transgender communities. But all of our initiatives came to an halt after the coronavirus pandemic. Also, all our workshops and partnerships with the schools were suspended because there was a mandatory closure of the schools. So one interesting thing that everyone should know about is in India, to ensure that students come to school regularly, the government has mandated free lunch to the students who attend schools. With schools being closed down, these students did not have access to adequate nutritional food. So we were worried because these students depended on schools and the governmental authorities for food. So we were worried, and then we stepped in. We stepped in and located all these students and their families and distributed food packages to them. We distributed over 1,000 food packages, and this is something similar to what Zamima has done. And Zamima, I know a lot. This takes a lot of hard work to prepare food package and distribute it. And I really commend the job that you have been doing, because I have done a similar type of job, and I understand how difficult it is to go out in such difficult times, collect food items, prepare boxes, and deliver it to the students. Then to empower the, and I think everyone here would agree that whenever a pandemic hits, the vulnerable section of the society is worse affected. The transgender community in India was the worst affected because they had no jobs. People, they were on the roads. So our team went to these self-help groups. We gave them economic support. We ensured that they get some sort of jobs and delivered food packages to them. But right now, uh, after the Tailories Network has given us this grant, we'll be working to ensure that all the schools, all the government schools in Ludhiana, the city where I live in, are have one computer and one internet connection, so that in the long term, our skill development initiatives can have a much wider impact, so that we are not limited to an organization that has partnered with 10 schools. We can partner with 100 schools. We can build confidence in more than five. We are right now making a change in 5,000 lives. But with this grant, our target is to make a change in the lives of over 50,000 people by the end of next year. So, but alas, the situation in India is very bad. Even I am also not feeling very well, and I was not able to join the previous session because the situation in our country is really bad. I'm hopeful that initiatives like ours would make it slightly better for the population. Even it is marginally better, but make it better for the population. And again, I would just like to clap and commend all of your initiatives, and I would like to thank everyone, especially Lorraine ma'am, to make me part of this. I feel so honored and proud, I can't even tell. I would sincerely like to clap for everyone, and especially for the Tailories Network and Open Society and Bard College. uh, Thank you. I'm sorry if I am a little emotional. Actually, I'm not very well. I have a little fever, but Thais convinced me to join today's session. So Fofa, thank you for convincing me. And I'm so thankful that I have made so many friends here. I'm yet to get in touch with Catherine, Vera, and Zamima, and I'll definitely get in touch with you guys. And I'm sure that we'll collaborate and we'll make better changes. And back to Loli now. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those kind words, and thank you all for these very inspiring and thoughtful stories. We have a number of questions coming in, and we'll begin to ask the questions, and I'll ask that each of you respond in the order in which you presented. And if you'd like to pass on a question, feel free to iPad. But if the question resonates with you, just say a few words. So the first question is a question around the challenges that you've faced to overcome the challenge. Question, you've faced multiple challenges. A major civic engagement was to take the time to reflect the action that you're taking and to learn from the action and to use what you've learned to inform improved action. So I'd like you to think about the 3 months. Think about the pivot, the change you had to make in your work when the pandemic came along, the difficult that you're doing. The moment, I'm sure there were many. Think of a distinctive moment. You felt really overwhelmed, very, very challenged. You didn't know what to do. You made a big mistake, but there was an that you faced. And let us know, describe that moment to us, and then describe what you did to overcome challenge, and if you add a word of what you learned. And in the interest of time, try to keep your answer brief to the extent that that's possible. But if you would, Catherine, get us, that would be helpful.
Thank you for that question. I must say that this COVID-19 pandemic period has been a period of learning and growing, because as Nawiri sisters, we began our work with the girls this year. As much as we had started like collections of sanitary towels last year, we began engagement with the girls this year. So after engaging with them for about 3 months, pandemic hits and schools are closed. So now finding a way to interact with them and help them, of course, with the help of the headmistresses I had mentioned, we were able to get the list of families that were in dire need. So for me, one of the moments that really challenged me was where to begin. We began fundraising even before I had submitted my application for the COVID-AIDS Student Engagement Award. And I remember that the government of Kenya had put in place certain restrictions. So we wanted to help families, but here we were being told that the government was regulating how distribution of goods were going to be done. So we had to take a second to stop and find out what the government regulations are, because their aim was to, as much as people were helping giving of food, there were cases of overcrowding. So the government had put in place these structures to ensure that overcrowding didn't take place. And then also establishing the system. As I mentioned, we're an initiative under Strathmore University, so we're not a registered organization. So because of that, getting the platform to start the crowdfunding seemed a bit tough, but with time and with a lot of help from friends and family and guidance here and there, we were able to overcome these hurdles, get approval from the government to carry out our programs for donation, and also get a registered platform, now Mchanga, for us to be able to reach out to other people to give donations, because at the same time we needed that credibility of that platform. So I think all through this period, it has been a learning experience on how to do the work on the ground and get things organized, as much as we are a small team, because we're a team of 4 people. So being able to do what we have done this far, it's definitely a lesson. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Zamima, please.
Thank you, Catherine, for your nice words. I would say that a very interesting challenge that we faced was that we were trying to engage in our work as soon as possible. So what challenge that we approached in the first day was that when we were trying to manage food and cook food for the people in the slum areas, there are already a large number of people who are living in the slum areas. For example, very recently, there is a slum area which is close to where I live. And in that area, about 100,000 people live per square kilometer. So it is extremely crowded, the places where we served food. So the challenge was that when we tried to quickly start our campaign, on the first day, when we were going to distribute our food, there was a lot of crowding. This made us realize that people actually, despite so many news being on TV and on social media, people don't actually have the proper knowledge about what they should do and how they should prevent overcrowding. The government has been telling us to maintain a distance of at least 6 meters over and over again. But of course, when people are living in such dire conditions, these things probably don't come to mind in the first place. So we had to face a lot of challenges in that sense, because although our people, we were wearing protective wear, they were not. So on the first day, we had to quickly stop our campaign because of the overcrowding, and then we had to manage for a few days, maybe 5 or 7 days. And then what we did was that we selected specific locations where we were going to serve food, and there we drew circles on the road, which was about 6 meters apart. And then we made sure that when people came to collect the food, they stood at least 6 meters apart from each other. And also, when people were making lines from one side to another, there was also 6 meter gap between the two people who are standing side by side. So we had to quickly think of that method. And also, when they approached our place where we were serving food, we made sure to have a really big banner in obviously our language, where they were instructed what to do. And we also tried to provide reusable masks to them when they came to collect food, so that they could at least use the reusable mask when they come to take food from us. So I think that was a very interesting challenge that we faced, which made us realize a lot of things as we went forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thais, next, please.
Yes, so thank you for this question. As I told you, Purek works with a platform, so an app, but we had to stop everything here when the pandemic hit. And for me, one challenge that it was really difficult for us to deal with was to change everything that we used to make personally to an online interaction. And also, we were really worried with these women because, for an example, one of our collaborators, she receives 100% of her monthly income by Pureco platform, and without working and without governmental support, for sure, um, she was not able to pay her bills. So there was this time when I called one of them to check if they were okay, how they were going during this pandemic, and she told us that she didn't know if she could if she could pay her internet bill. So this is something that made us really worried about, and we had to let the platform by in standby, and we did the other project that I told you. So we collected 15,000 reais in 15 days to buy supplies for the Santa Monica community, which is the community that Pureco works. So we gave them those packages of food, and now I guess everything is returning to normal here. I mean, the new normal, I guess. But we have an emergency returning plan, and we are in the yellow phase, which allow us to work in some areas. So I think the challenge was really to deal with the online interaction. Thank you.
So much. Vera?
Yes, so I think the main project that I worked on, the Sanctuary Mask Initiative, was itself born out of a challenge. Like everyone else, I had very different plans for the summer. I had a placement set up with an NGO working in Moria refugee camp in Greece that I was meant to come out to at the beginning of the summer. And like everything else, flights got cancelled and everything was cancelled, so I had to stay at home. So I used that time to when I realized that there was no going anywhere, I had to focus my attention on something else, and I reached out to the women that we work with to see what they needed. The day that we came up with the sanctuary mask, with the idea for the sanctuary masks, was also we came up with the idea in the morning time, and it was the first day that the whole country went into lockdown. So we had to figure out a way to, all the roads were closed, people were only, well, the roads weren't closed, but you weren't allowed to leave your house only for essential travel. So we had to very quickly call all of our, we have a working group with a number of us, in it. So we had to call everybody we knew to see where we could get some fabric, where we could get some sewing machines, and who had cars available. So by the afternoon, we had acquired something like 5 sewing machines and delivered all 5, and along with rolls and rolls of fabric, to, I think, 5 women in 2 direct provision centres. So it was very much a logistical issue of, well, we didn't know, is this essential work? Is it not? The rules were very kind of wishy-washy at the beginning. So I think that was kind of our main challenge, was on the first day of, well, we're not allowed to travel. So how do we get the things to the women that they need? So, but after that, it ran very smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. And Mohak?
I think my first biggest challenge was very similar to what Thais explained. I got a call from a family of a student who said that they don't have money to buy food grains because his father was also a migrant labor, and because industries were shut down, they didn't have access to job, no money, so no food. So he called me and said that we don't have any money. So at that moment, I was kind of panicking that what to do. So we immediately called up a meeting, an online meeting with the team members, and we decided that we'll start preparing food packages. But another problem was, where will we go to distribute these packages? Because movement was restricted, and we did not have any access, and all these families were at different places. Some students lived in colony A, some students lived in colony B, so we weren't sure where we could set up a camp, where we could go. But thankfully we got in touch with the district administration. The district administration allowed us with e-pass. They allowed us with a government allowed pass. That would mean that our car can go into different colonies and go and distribute food. But just like Zamima said, another challenge was the safety of my team members, because all of them were my responsibility. So, and I was very scared for their well-being as well. So yeah, those were difficult times, and there were a lot of rumors about what coronavirus is, how can it spread. There were, because that was the big initial phase. Then people, at that time, people thought that it can pass even through mask, it can pass even through gloves, and people were really scared back then. Right now we know that if you are wearing a mask then you are protected, but back then, 4 months back, nobody had a clear idea about what coronavirus actually is and how it is spreading. So that was a really difficult phase. But thank God we got support from the district administration and the courage of my team members. I should applaud it. We wore, I still remember that those were the days we wore 2 masks, we wore 2 gloves, and we would, and while the entire city was shut down, our team, 20 team members were out in the city, and we were around the only people out in the city. So yeah, those were scary times, but I'm glad that we took that initiative, because these families which we helped out were really in need, because at that time even the district administration was not distributing food. So when we took the first step, the district administration also copied and they also started distributing food. So yeah, the first step was, the first really challenging part was dealing with the rumors of what coronavirus is and how it can spread, and the fear. I think the fear is still the biggest challenge in the society. Yeah, thank you.
You all so very much. I think we have time for one more question, and for everyone to opportunity to answer that question. There's numerous to choose from. The one like feels particularly timely, and it does, I think, build well Mohab's recent comment around fear. This is a very difficult time for around the world. Students and others are experiencing tremendous loss. There are physical health challenges, there are challenges, and there are significant challenges as well. Your work is inspiring. Our participants really impressed by your positive energy and your outlook. And so one of the questions is around this motivation, I think. You know, the question is, how do you keep your energy up? How do you keep your momentum going? And what would you say to students, other students around the world who might be struggling to maintain a positive outlook? Is there something you could say to them that might be encouraging? If you would go first, Catherine.
Thank you very much. I think for me, my source of motivation comes from acknowledging or realizing that I have so much to be grateful for and I'm greatly privileged, and that there are people out there who are not able to put food on the table for their families, or there are people who are resorting to, as I said before, sexual partners, because the rate of teenage pregnancies right now in Kenya is really increasing. So that problem of not being able to have access to these things really is what motivates me, because it moves me to be like, if I can help even 2 girls out of the all who need help, at least I have made my impact. I have made my contribution to helping someone's life be better. I would say that to my fellow youth out there, it's definitely a very difficult time right now, and there's a lot of fear, as Mohawk said, and a lot of uncertainty of what tomorrow will hold. But I think, as proven by my fellow panelists here and the other award winners and many other youth out there, that we can be a symbol of hope, that we can still carry on even when things are down, and to be kind to ourselves, I think, is the best thing that I would say, to be patient with each other and to take care of our mental health, because that's very important at a time of uncertainty. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Azanina?
So for me, what changed was that as a child, usually I would compare and see the different situations that my friends and I live in, and I didn't realize how privileged I was. I was comparing my situation with my friends and myself, actually, given that we were already so much privileged than the people who are basically invisible to us. When we go out, we see so many people on the streets, but basically they are invisible to us. We just walk past them and we don't realize what they're going through. We just care about what what we have. Maybe I have an iPhone, maybe my friend has an iPhone X and I don't, and that makes me sad. But what changed for me was that when I started working, when I started seeing the situations where people live and the things that people deal with every single day, things we don't even have to think about. I mean, for example, for me, the past 3 or 4 months, it was like a breeze for me and my family, because we didn't have to worry about food. First of all, we had an abundance of food, which is a great privilege for all of us. I think all of us here, we didn't have to worry about where our income was coming from. We didn't have to worry about all these things. But the moment when there were lockdowns, there were people who were dependent on their everyday income. For example, there were some people in my country who actually live on $5 a day, which is unbelievable, right? So for those people, it was difficult. So when you start working and engaging yourself in these situations, when you start learning and seeing what sort of situation they live in, you'll feel more motivated and you will start to appreciate your own situation. And that's when you will find the motivation within yourself. And I think that's what I want to tell all the youth out there to take from us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thais?
Thank you. So everything that I always did for the community, it was always in the purpose of giving back everything that I always received in my life. So I am extremely privileged here in Brazil. Half of the country lives with more or less 400 reais, which means less than $100 a month. So it's a really unequal country. It's a really racist country, and I feel, for an example, when the pandemic hit and they started to say, oh, stay home, for homeless people there is no home. And for me, I have a home, I feel safe in my home. So during the pandemic, we had 36% plus of calls relating violence against women here in Brazil. So stay home, but do you feel safe in your home? Or you live with an aggressive person and you don't feel safe, you need to protect your children, or you need to work and you don't have any support of the government, you don't have your country support. um, so I think that, as Catherine said, uh, I will help two people, for women, but I will do my part, and hopefully um, this is going to make them better. One of our collaborators, as I told you, she started studying again, and for me, this is the best thing in the world, because we have a group at WhatsApp, and every time that we wanted to say something, we had to send voice messages, because she didn't tell us about that, but we knew, so we just kept sending voice messages. And I don't know, I know how to read, I know how to write, so in this country that I live in, this world that we live in, this society, I think we need to be thankful for that, and for studying, for having opportunities. Also, I want to share something that one time one of our collaborators told me. So we have a visit. We visit them twice a month. We used to, and during normal times. And one time that I was talking to one of them, we were talking about the price, so the price of our cleaning services, and she told me, I don't think we need to change this price, because sometimes um, I'll go in a house and with one clean I can buy something for me to eat in the night, to feed my children. And for me, this was like, oh my god, I have no problems at all. I have whatever I want to eat in my house, and I have my parents, sorry, my family with me. So a message that I would say is that, for all the students that are seeing this webinar, um, keep moving. um, you are privileged, you are studying, and many children are now working, or they badly know about coronavirus. So we need to start now. We need to start anytime, and now is the time for us to start doing something. And it's with small pieces, step by step, that we are gonna get there. That we are gonna work with our sustainable development goals. And if we don't reach, we're gonna get really close. So, or we are gonna get a little bit better, but it's already a little bit better. So this is also a good result. So let's start changing this society. We need, times are coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for interrupting, Vera. I just wanted to add something that Thais reminded me of. So while I was working, there was this child in a rural village in my country who communicated with us, and we all know that in order to attend online classes, we need some sort of smartphone device, or maybe a laptop or a computer, any sort of digital device. So although we are trying to move forward, we realize that there are some kids who don't even have a smartphone. The child, he reached out to us, and then he said that in my school they are doing classes in WhatsApp, not even through video, they're doing classes in WhatsApp, and he can't even attend his classes through WhatsApp because he doesn't have a smartphone. So in that case, you realize how privileged you are for being able to do all this. And when you listen to stories from people directly, you get inspired. So I would say, I just wanted to add that. Thank you, Thais.
Yes, that's a good point. Vera, please.
Yeah, so just to I don't think I'm going to say anything new here, but I think what I find with Ireland is obviously a very privileged country, but I find that young people in Ireland often feel overwhelmed with all the issues that there are in our country and globally, and that kind of that overwhelm usually leads to people not doing anything at all. So what I would say to people is that you don't need to do anything dramatic to make a difference in somebody's life. You just need to pick one small little cause and do something that can make somebody's day or somebody's situation a little bit nicer or um, a little bit less difficult. There's this quote that I really like. It says it uh, it takes ordinary people to do extraordinary things, but I don't necessarily think that's true. I think oftentimes it's the very the not extraordinary things that make the biggest impact. So it's the little things that you wouldn't even think about. You do something for somebody and you don't think about it, and then they mention it to you a few years later because it's stuck with them. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Mohak, would you say the final words, please?
Yeah, definitely. I love to give final words. First of all, I think these four superwomen have encapsulated everything that I would have said. But I still believe when I was a child, my mom told me that if you take one step towards betterment, the world will take 1,000 steps with you. So I have always, since a young age, I've always made sure that I am aware of the privileges that I enjoy, and I make sure that the others around me are benefited of that privilege, not just the person in question, not just me. And I think all of us have done an incredible, amazing job to use our privilege to the advantage of the society. And I think that is what all the students which are seeing this webinar should do. They should know, they should acknowledge their privilege, and they should understand that their privilege is because they're part of this society, they're part of this unequal society, and it becomes their duty, it becomes their job to make sure that these inequalities are somehow eliminated. And just like all of them said, it is and especially what Vera said, you do not have to do something massive to make a change. Even one step is enough, because as my mom would say, if you take one step, others will take 1,000 steps with you. And I'm so glad that all of you have taken these little steps. And Taylor's network, Bard College, and the Open Society has pushed us steps and made sure that these steps are now marathons. And now we'll be achieving our goal. Very soon we'll be achieving these goals. We'll be reaching the finishing lines. And again, I would like to thank everyone, and especially you, ma'am, for organizing this webinar. Now back to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you to the audience. Thank you to the folks who are going to record this and share it around the world. I want to say finally that the webinar and series will take place on September 14th. And I invite you to join us then so that you can hear from the 5 Engagement Award winners working in communities in Ghana, Mexico, the United States, Uganda, and Vietnam. I'd like to conclude today with a quote from the 2014 Nobel Peace Prize winner Malala Yousafzai. I think this is very well aligned with the final comment. She said, "Fear was not as strong as our courage." And so one step forward, all the way to a step forward, 1,000 steps forward with courage. I thank all of you for your dedication and your spirit. I wish you well, and I'll look forward to and this recording will be shared throughout the networks. And I wish everyone safety and health, and also some peace of mind during this tremendously difficult time. Thank you.